The 60s and 70s could be considered the heyday of the concept album, defined as a collection of songs interrelated lyrically and/or musically. The format creates a whole new narrative derived from its parts. Of all the artists who dabbled in the technique, the absolute masters had to be Pink Floyd. Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall are all rightly considered classics today, each album expertly composed and arranged. As the 70s closed, so did the golden age of the themed record. The decade's end, however, would see the creation of a couple of prime examples of the style before fading away. For 1979 saw the release of perhaps the best concept album of all time, Pink Floyd's The Wall, while it also observed the birth of another lesser-known record, the ultimate space rock opera, Billy Thorpe's Children of the Sun. A mainstay of the Australian music scene from as early as the 1950s, Thorpe was esteemed in his adopted country throughout his career. Yet in the US, his notoriety would come and go. Most Americans were, and still are, unaware of his body of work prior to Children of the Sun. Born in Manchester in 1946, Billy Thorpe and his family emigrated to Australia from England in 1955. Just a year later, he began his singing career as a 10-year-old, eventually becoming a regular on Queensland TV. By 1963, he had become the singer for the previously instrumental surf band, the Aztecs, which became known thereafter as Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs. Mainly covering English and American hits, the band also had success with their own songs throughout the early 60s, but would eventually break up in 1967 after a couple of personnel changes. In 1968, a new Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs was formed with a completely revised lineup. Thorpe himself had also undergone a makeover. Learning guitar, growing a mustache, and letting his hair go long, he became the epitome of a hard rock frontman. By 1972, the band was headlining the Sunbury Pop Festival, an outdoor rock concert that featured Australian bands exclusively, often referred to as the Aussie Woodstock. Though by 1975, that iteration was also dissolved. Thorpe would release a few singles the following year, but would ultimately move to Los Angeles in late 1976. 1979 would see the release of his most popular and most recognized record in America, Children of the Sun. While Spencer Proffer co-wrote the title track with Thorpe, Thorpe alone composed all but one of the remaining songs on the album. Proffer's Pasha Music House would serve as a recording studio for the album, as well as for Thorpe's 3 other American releases. In reality, the Children of the Sun album is really 2 EPs. Side 1 comprised of a mixed bag of standard late 70s rock, while Side 2 contains 5 compositions of what I'd like to call the Sun Children Suite. Side 1's Wrapped in the Chains of Your Love, Simple Life, and Goddess of the Night all got some airplay at the time, but what the public really wanted to hear was the title track. It amazes me to this day that the remainder of the Sun Children Suite saw little, if any, airtime at all. Overall, it tells the story of the Children of the Sun, an alien race also referred to as the Sun Children, coming to Earth and leading mankind in an exodus to the stars. The first and most well-known song tells of the Sun Children inviting the inhabitants of Earth to join them on their journey through the cosmos. We're Leaving comes next, telling essentially the same tale as the previous song, but with a different melody and lyrics. The outbound flight from the solar system is told in We Welcome You. Solar Anthem, an instrumental transition, follows. It's very much in the vein with the corporate anthem from the original Rollerball, having the same cadence and a similar sounding organ. The beginning rounds out the suite, describing what happens to the Earth after we've left, while also hinting at what's to come for the human race. Heard together, the other 4 songs of the suite enhance the listening experience of Children of the Sun. Thorpe did well in making each track sound musically unique, only linking the songs by subject matter and repeating lyrical elements. The most obvious of this is the crescendo for the beginning, using a modified melody of No More Gravity, Nothing Holding Them Down. Overall, the suite can seem dated, yet it still retains a freshness that is enjoyable even today. Some of Jack Black's Tenacious D vocalizations can definitely be traced back to Thorpe. Then A Beam Made of Light Hit the Ground especially comes to mind. The emphasis on ground. Charts-wise, the album peaked in the Billboard Top 20, while the title song reached number 41. His American follow-up albums, 21st Century Man, Stimulation, and East of Eden's Gate never approached that success, Eden's Gate probably being the best of the trio. Trying to recapitalize on his prior hits, Thorpe re-released the Sun Children Suite, along with East of Eden's Gate and a few new songs on Children of the Sun Revisited in 1987. The album was most notable for its insipid artwork, especially when compared with the original illustration by Mouse and Kelly, who were best known at the time for their work for the Grateful Dead. It's even more infuriating that every music program that downloads album art always insists on putting this piece of trash in place of the inspired original. Thorpe's final American hurrah would be with Mick Fleetwood's side project The Zoo, featuring backup Bramlett. The title track, Shakin' the Cage, co-written with Bramlett, would do reasonably well but would be lost with the majority of early 90s music that was trying to compete with Nirvana and the Seattle sound. Thorpe, as he was affectionately known to his fans, returned to Australia in the mid-90s. Orchestrating reunions with the various lineups of the Aztecs throughout the next decade, he was also instrumental in organizing concert tours for other Aussie-based bands. Additionally, he would go on to write extensively about his early career in 2 autobiographies. And he would compose. Shortly before his death in 2007 of a massive heart attack, Thorpe was working on Tangier, an album recorded in Morocco with various artists. It would eventually be released posthumously in 2010 by Sony. Billy Thorpe will be remembered for a lot of different music. The music you identify with him is most likely dependent upon where you lived when you first heard him and your age. For me, he will always be remembered for Children of the Sun and the Sun Children Suite. That's it for this episode. As always, you can show your support for AltarPast by becoming a patron through our Patreon account and by using the links in the description to Amazon and iTunes. We receive revenue for anything you buy through Amazon after clicking on the link, not just the items we spotlight. Regardless of how you show your support, we cannot stress how much we appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to AltarPast and never miss an episode of The Past You Never Knew. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like. Your feedback is much valued. Read a more in-depth account of this story in the original blog post at altarpast.wordpress.com. Thanks for watching. This is Will Carlson, and I'll see you in the AltarPast.